It was what came after that. That was by far the most interesting.
Spectacular split save by Marc-Andre Fleury.
Oh, what a play.
Oh, sweet-looking play by Christian Yelich.
Welcome back to another hour of Get Up, coming to you live from above the Heineken River Deck at Pier 17. We currently got a boat race behind me back here, so we'll take bets on that. Greeny, Jalen, my name's Michelle. We have a look ahead to tonight's NBA playoff games, plus Browns general manager John Dorsey will be here. But we got to start in Boston, where the plays go on. The process was really in the spotlight last night, 76ers at Celtics. No Jaylen Brown, but you did get a Bell Russell. You're welcome, America. First half, Celtics came out hot and did not seem to slow down. Jason Tatum, Jalen's dude Al Horford led the whole time, 11-point lead into the half.
And the Boston Celtics did something that was sneaky big news.
Uh-oh.
They instituted Aaron Baines into the starting lineup.
Former Spur?
Philadelphia does a really good job of allowing Ben Simmons as a 6'10 point guard to control the floor, and rightfully so. But people underestimate the fact they use two bigs also, in Joel Embiid and Dario Saric, even though they both can shoot the three. So you put him in the game, so now Horford becomes a matchup mismatch for whoever's guarding him on the other end. They used him a lot in pick and roll actions, dribble handoff actions, and he had a big-time game.
Rozier also had a big-time game. We got to hear from him afterwards in some sweet fashion, if I say so myself.
I feel like the best is yet to come, but, you know, it's a great start. It's a great start of the series. I'm going to keep going hard, no matter who's in front of me. You know, I always feel like I can get the best of my guy. And, you know, like I said, the best is yet to come, though.
I thought I was I thought we were all bad tonight, so that's not what we are, definitely. I think, you know, when everybody is on, we're the best defensive team in the game, man. You know, there's a lot of stuff with game plan that we didn't execute.
Look, Celtics were the always awkward home underdog in the playoffs. It never makes sense to me, but they don't seem to care. So how do they keep winning?
Brad Stevens, player development. Players come out of nowhere playing big on a large stage. Look at Rozier. He's backing up Kyrie Irving, and all of a sudden he's playing in big-time playoff games. Marcus Smart has returned from injury. You see him playing really good defense against Ben Simmons, who's 5 inches taller than him.
You know what else I'll say is that we have become so superstar-driven in our focus that we sometimes forget these guys didn't come from nowhere.
Right.
Marcus Smart didn't come from nowhere. Rozier didn't come from nowhere. And Jason Tatum, most people thought should have been the first pick in the draft. The Sixers obviously didn't, and last night they looked ridiculous for it. Now, Fultz may wind up being a great player, but these guys are really, really good players. We just focus on like 7 guys in the entire world, and we forget about them. So, I mean, Jason Tatum is becoming a star right before our eyes. We had this whole debate over Rookie of the Year this year, and Donovan Mitchell, I thought, deserved to win it, and Simmons is unbelievable. Tatum's name never even comes up in the conversation. He had a magnificent year. And I'll say one thing about the coaching, too, because I just sat here looking over some notes as you were talking. Kyrie Irving was the leading scorer for the Celtics this season. Do you know how many teams in history have won 2 playoff series playing without their leading scorer from the regular season? Don't bother looking it up. The answer is 0. It's never happened before. They're now 1 step of the way towards getting their 2nd series here. That is remarkable resilience, and it is a testament, first and foremost, to what a great coach they have.
But also, when you look deeper into their roster, with a really good GM they have, because as you mentioned, the Philadelphia 76ers gave up a first-round pick for the right to move up to take one Markelle Fultz when they could have taken Jason Tatum. So when you're without your starting backcourt, when you're without Jaylen Brown, you would think that superstar-driven team in the Philadelphia 76ers would find a way to get it done in Game 1. But Game 2 is a total different story. That's why I love the playoffs.
Tatum must be loving it, too. Every time you look over there and Fultz is just sitting on the bench. Not his fault, but it's still odd. We do have a big number, and it does involve Terry Rozier, who has definitely made a name for himself in these playoffs. He had a team-high 29. Basically, any Sixer defender they put on him, no problem other than Ben Simmons. Shot 9 of 12. 6 of 6 from 3 in those instances. Also took advantage in 13 minutes while Joel Embiid was on the bench. They shot 7 of 8 on attempts, less than 5 feet, with him off the floor. So they take advantage, unlike the other day, what we saw in the Cavs game. Let's get up and go before we get you caught up on everything else you need to know. We mentioned it earlier, the fashion last night. That is, of course, a Drew Bledsoe jersey, referring to back in round 1 when Eric Bledsoe decided to take a shot. We'll decide if we think it's too late, but whatever.
I got love for my man Drew Bledsoe. Even though we haven't talked, I think he know who I am, and I know who he is. So that's all that matters.
How do you have love for someone you've never talked to before?
That's actually cultural.
Oh, here we go.
It is. When you have love for somebody you never met, it's almost like having multiple cousins that you call uncle.
Right, but can I suggest perhaps not having love for people you've never met because you might be disappointed and then not have love for them?
Well, he said it, not me. I agree.
Well, no,
I also have no problem with him wearing a Drew Bledsoe jersey, regardless of whether the previous series is over or not. This is harmless fun. He's having fun. But it's not like beef. He didn't do something terrible to
But don't you think it would have been much more fun had it happened in Game 7?
Maybe he didn't have the jersey yet in Game 7.
Well, that's what I thought.
But I'm giving everybody the fascinating conversation for the East. Whose future would you rather have, the
Boston
Sixers
fans
or Boston?
Let me hear you. What I think will be great is that Philly will come, and they will come loud. Donovan Mitchell also watching last night's game, apparently.
I'll answer your question, which we should expand upon at a different time. I'd still take Philly's future over Boston's future, as great as those young players are.
I don't
They're
know
not
anymore.
Simmons and Embiid.
Simmons and Embiid are franchise, once-in-a-generational type players.
End of sentence. End your sentence there.
But,
no need to say anything.
But this is a team sport, and the Boston Celtics have assets, and they have a terrific roster.
There you go. Steph Curry upgraded to probable for tonight's game against the Pelicans. Of course, he's been out since March 23rd. And I believe the Pelicans probably, I don't know how you even game plan for this.
I'm not giving up, Jalen. I'm not giving up. I believe the Pelicans are going to make this a series. I'm not picking them to win, and I never did. But I still believe that they're going to show up and play tonight. I do not think they get blown out tonight.
In round one, I tried to introduce everyone to Drew Holiday. Everybody knew about Anthony Davis. But I think you need to reintroduce yourself to Steph Curry. If he's able to play at a healthy clip, this series is over in 5
You think
games.
people forgot about Steph Curry already?
They have, B.
We really do have a tension problem. Yeah, we're bad. Josh Hader, Tim Kirkton was excited about this, made a little history last night. First pitcher to record at least 8 outs in a game, all via strikeouts, since the mound was moved, and that happened way back in 1893. He had 2 2/3 innings pitched, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. And for the season now, he's got 39 strikeouts in 18 innings.
You've got to stop and think about that for just a minute. He's averaging 20 strikeouts per 9 innings pitched. Now, that doesn't mean that if he was a starting pitcher, he would do that, obviously. But you think about how many 20 strikeout games there have been in the history of the sport. This kid has fire.
And from a pitcher accomplishment to a hitting accomplishment, Diamondbacks' A.J. Pollock had himself a night, Arizona beating L.A. He had 3 solo shots, his hits, 3 homers in a game for the first time in his career. And in that process, moves into a tie for the NL lead with 9 home runs this season. And also, as a side note, what happened to the Dodgers?
Yeah, and a related story, the Dodgers are in real trouble. You know, talk about Boston overcoming all these injuries in basketball?
Yeah.
They've got a ton of injuries now. They have another young stud pitcher who's going to have Tommy John now. The Dodgers are in trouble.
Ever since we left L.A., Jalen. I don't know what happened. We'll stay out west. The Giants staged a late-night comeback against the Padres, turned a 5-3 deficit in the bottom of the 9th into a 6-5 win. At one point, the Giants were down to their last strike. Back-to-back singles from Evan Longoria and Nick Hundley, producing 3 runs and a walk-off win.
I think this game was still going on when our staff got to work today.
That makes sense.
Right? This is one of those late West Coast games that our staff that comes in early to work their behinds off to try and put a good TV show on the air, I think they watch.
By the way,
live.
I think people think you're exaggerating. That is not a lie.
1 or 2 a.m. Eastern.
It's 100% true. Stanley Cup playoffs, the Golden Knights of Las Vegas.
What a goal.
Putting on a show.
Look at that
In
shot.
overtime, beating the Sharks. William Karlsson, that was the game winner. It was his fourth goal of the postseason. It's just, I just have so many questions. Like, who are the fans that go to these games? Are they tourists that are visiting Vegas, or do they have Vegas people in this? I don't know. I have so many questions.
We wondered for the longest time, would sports work in Vegas? You put a winner like this on the ice this fast, helps a lot.
So far, so good. Turning to football, there's a new study out. Boston Healthcare System and BU School of Medicine. It's players who started playing tackle football before the age of 12 are now displaying symptoms related to CTE, an average of 13 years earlier than other players. That study published yesterday in the Annals of Neurology. Last hour, we had 13-year NFL vet Ryan Clark on to talk about his reaction to the study.
I asked my son, did he want to play? I let him play flag early on, but he was playing tackle football at 8, and I tried to teach him to be a different football player than I am. I'm trying to teach him ways to keep himself safe, keep his head out of tackles, but this game is inherently violent. This does put tackle football and the NFL on notice that they do need to change some things. They do need to do some outreach. They do need to do some education for the younger kids, for the younger generation of football, to try to make it safer for them and also continue working on the rules to make them different for the guys in the league now.
This is where I don't know what you change. I guess that's where I'm sort of lost. How do you change enough without changing it completely?
Ultimately, you cannot legislate the violence and the danger out of football. It is an inherently dangerous and violent game. And I've said many times, I never offer anyone advice on how they should parent their children because I'm not interested in anyone's advice on how I parent mine. But I do think it is fascinating to watch former football players. There is like a divided school of thought. There are some of them. Marcellus Wiley says he will never allow his son to play football. Ryan Clark and my old partner Mike Golick, his sons played football all through high school and college and everything else. So I just find it interesting to see that there's two different schools of thought. And I'm not going to sit here and say either one is right or wrong.
Well, what makes it unique, again, is that normally when you're taught to play sports, it tests your endurance, it tests your toughness, it tests your ability to push yourself when you feel like you can't go any further. But that's not with your brain. And so when you start talking about hitting an individual as hard as you can after running into them as fast as you can, is lifting as many weights as possible to be as strong as you can, that level of force is something that they're probably trying to legislate from people that are 12 years old or younger who aren't in a position to make that decision for themselves because people are making it for them.
That is the trick, and I think that's where it's going to get a little gray. I have a favorite person of all time right this second, coming all the way from Turkey, actually, Turkish football, which I'm a big fan of. Look, here's the deal. If your favorite team bans you from the stadium, as this man right here was, you figure it out. So he rented a crane, swooped in over the stadium, and checked out some of the game. He was able to catch a little bit until the cops showed up and escorted him out, but I appreciate it.
All this means is that gentleman has residual income.
I'm also curious why he was banned from the team. Like, what exactly is it that he did that got him banned from the stadium? Because if you're going to get banned from the stadium, you've likely done something.
All we have is a previous misdemeanor.
Yeah.
That really could be anything, quite frankly. I'm a little uncomfortable in guessing because I might get myself in trouble trying to figure it out. It could be something awful. I have no idea. Coming up, the biggest decision of the draft gave the dog pound a new lead dog. We're going to ask Browns GM John Dorsey how it went down when he joins us live next. And Baker Mayfield joined an elite group of Heisman-winning quarterbacks to be drafted #1 overall. But only 2 Heisman-winning quarterbacks, regardless of draft position, have gone on to win the Super Bowl as a starter. Can you name them? Jalen!
One of them off the top of my head.
That's next.
Because he's a former player on one of our teams.
I do like that you're writing it down.
He's going to get it wrong.
He's going to get it
wrong. Already wrong.
He raised his sail slow way up high.